Hey you guys, this is Simon Valentino, and I'm here to welcome you to Studio 20. Unfortunately, George could not be here with us today, as I'm sure you've noticed already, but standing in his place, we have one of our producers, Jonathan, who's going to join us today. John.
Hello, everyone.
We're going to be talking about organization and being organized. Jonathan, what are some of the tools that you like to use to be organized?
Some of the tools that I like to use for being organized are things like folders. Just for paperwork in general, whether at work or at home. Filing cabinets for those folders. That way, you don't have a pile of them everywhere, and they start falling over, and you end up making a bigger mess.
I know a lot of people are talking about going paperless too, like versus like even just trying to organize paper. A lot of people have been talking about paperless organization, and I
Right.
feel like we've talked a little bit about how it feels to actually write things on paper versus like just having them stored in your phone or on a computer. And I definitely still like the hands-on. Hopefully they come up with a better way to like not use paper, like actual paper, but anyway.
Well, I think they are starting to work on that with technology nowadays. If you notice, there's tablets that come with little stencil pencils. So, if you're someone like me who also remembers well from writing things out, it's to the point where you can write it out on a tablet, and they're hoping that you'll still have the same kind of memory process as if writing it out on paper.
And I guess that can be helpful because then all of your thoughts are stored in one place, and that way you can go through and you can store them in different folders, just different folders on your technology.
Yeah.
And there's other things that are helpful on your technology, like different apps, including like calendars and
Yeah.
things like that. Do you use your calendar on your phone?
Oh, I live off my calendar. At least I used to live off my calendar quite a bit.
What kinds of things do you put in there? Important is just important dates. Is it just like
I'll put things anywhere from hanging out with friends after work to a doctor's appointment 3 months down the road.
just things you don't want to forget
Yeah,
about, things
yeah.
that you're like, okay, I'll definitely remember, but just in case, don't want to forget about this, should definitely write it down.
Because it always stinks when you have to bail on one friend because you forgot you made plans with another.
Yeah, that definitely is not fun. I think we might have had that happen once or twice,
Yes.
just because from miscommunication.
Yes.
But with calendars, you can work out your schedules a lot easier. And like we've talked about in time management before, lists are a big part of that. Like lists and schedules. If you find out what you need to do, figure out when you need to do it, pop that right into your calendar, you're good to go. You have your whole schedule set up, and a benefit of that is you're not wasting the time thinking about what you need to do.
Right.
Yes. Let's see. What are some of the other tools? Oh, I did. Office supplies. Basically, any kind of office supplies, as you started to mention, filing cabinets, but also small things like if you can't afford a filing cabinet, maybe you can start with small things like a stapler, because a stapler definitely comes in handy if you're a college student and you are printing large stacks of articles, and then you have so
Essays.
many articles or
Right,
so many
right,
essays that you need to go through. You don't want to get them mixed up, especially when it comes to the end of the semester.
That's true. But another thing about being organized is it's helpful not just for at your office, but in life in general. It's important to be organized in your home. To keep your home organized and clean.
Right.
You want to try to keep down from clutter and mess. I mean, if you have it, it's not the end of the world. But a clean living environment, will help benefit a lot of people.
It helps benefit definitely, like, because if you live in a cluttered space, it's hard. You have a cluttered brain, you sit there and you're like, okay, there's so much stuff you even have to worry about moving around that you don't have that like free time to just be like, wow, what do I want to think about right now? You have to think about your obstacles, and that's just no fun at all.
Yeah, well, also being organized is also a safety thing. You want to be able to, if you have to leave your house or apartment because of a fire, and your house is nice and organized and neat, it's safe for you to now leave your house or your property.
That's why they usually tell you not to store things in front of your doors or windows. Like, I know obviously doors, and like some people are like, duh, windows too, but I know a lot of people that like to put like large pieces of furniture in front of their windows, and I'm like, that's probably not a good idea. And they're like, you sound like a mom, and I'm just like, all right, but anything like shelves, bins, When I say bins, some people call them bins or totes. Storage containers of different kinds can be helpful if you have some people like to go through and they put away their summer gear or clothing when it's winter and vice versa to try to help
I'm
compact
one
on
of those
things.
people.
A lot of people, it's well, I learned about this thing called being a minimalist, and being a minimalist is like you have like the least amount of stuff that you can. You have like your necessities, and I watched a girl go from having so many things down to just like a couple notebooks and like some pens, and she was like, okay, I guess this is actually all I need. And she said she felt
Yeah.
so much better after she got rid of so many of her
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. I mean, me being when I was a single male, I had two dressers. I had one dresser for summer clothes and one dresser for winter clothes. And
That's so funny.
that's
See, I
how
don't have any dressers.
that's
I
how
like
I lived.
shelves. I like shelves. A lot of people like closets. I'm not a huge fan of closets because unfortunately I happen to break the bar in the closets relatively often. But some of the benefits that we had talked about were throwing out, well, you were talking about maintaining a clean environment so that way you are not I'm sorry you can throw out trash to help maintain a clean environment,
Yes.
and by doing that you help create a cleaner environment for everyone around you, meaning that you don't have things like bugs or
Right.
mice or
Right.
anything, and there's a lot of things you don't want living in your house that show up when you have too much mess.
Yeah, I mean, even if if you have too many plants in your house, like say you have like 30 plants in one spot, you have to make sure that it's still clean and organized because sometimes you can get little bugs, and that's something that can potentially harm your home.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true. Sorry. Let's see. Some of the things that you can do that will help you stay organized are things like making the bed, doing the dishes, sweeping the floor. There's little basic house chores that seem tedious at first, but when you really sit down and you just get them done, like find whatever it is that puts you in your mood. Like I know a lot of people are just like, I spend 40 hours, I spend 60 hours, however much time you spend at work doing so many things. You're tired, you're exhausted. You got to do it while you're in go mode. That's the thing that we refer to go mode when we're talking about that. All right, I've been working or I'm going to be working. Maybe you were at the gym and you just have all of that drive still. You have to channel that drive into doing your chores. And for some
Right.
people, that's at different times. When would you say you like to get your chores and get organized? When is your most organized time of the day?
Oh, me personally, I'm a morning person. I like to get right up with the sun and the birds. At 5, 6 in the morning, and I'll just start doing everything. I get up, I take a shower, and when I take my shower, that starts my brain, and then I like make a mental list of what I need to do for the day. Whether I'm at school and I need to make sure I have my homework done, and then my studying for any tests that I have, or it's preparing for work in case I have to be in a different building and do something different, a different project of some kind.
I'm quite the opposite. Like, I still like to be very prepared for a lot of things, but I'm much more of a nighttime person. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sleep in until, whenever I can. If I get the time, I'll sleep in until noon if I feel like it. If I'm like, well, I have extra time, let's just sleep. I will sleep until noon and then I will go to work my 8 hour shift. And sometimes it's more depending on if there's overtime or not. But once I'm out of work, I'm so exhausted by the time I'm leaving work. But then I get home and there's just like that relaxing, like you gotta catch yourself right as you kind of start to relax, but then like channel it into like, okay, I need to sweep the floor, okay, I need to do the dishes. Little things that you see as you're starting to relax that you want to just tackle as little projects. And it doesn't have to be everything at once. That's a big factor. It's very important to remember that you don't have to complete all of your, like, clean all of your messes in one day. You can complete little cleaning projects, like, even throughout the week. I'm sure you
That's true.
must break things down. You're a very
Yeah.
organized person.
Well, Also, one of my favorite things about being organized is I can find my stuff. I know where it is. I know where it's in this drawer. Oh yeah, that's where I put it
I mean,
because
yeah.
I'm very organized. I know where my tools are. You know, my grandfather can always say I can be in my workshop with my eyes closed and know where my tools are. And it's helpful because then when you start to lose a little bit of your memory, you know where your tools are still.
That's
So
definitely also a safety thing too. Like you said, if there's a fire or if there's like, and
yeah,
especially with
safety.
tools,
Yep.
things can happen. Like that's why you wear safety glasses. Things can happen to your eyes. And if something happens, you don't want to be walking through a giant cluttered
Right.
mess. You
Yeah.
need to walk through an organized space. And with tools, there's so many other dangers that can happen between tripping over cords, cutting yourself on open
Yeah.
blades.
Yep.
So it's really important, especially in workshops, to stay organized.
Yeah. I mean, fire hazards. Fire hazards are such a big thing in it, in a lot of workforces. There's gas. Cans, aerosol cans that are flammable. If you're grinding or something, sparks get near it.
That actually reminds me, we were talking about the fire extinguishers and knowing where they are, and that goes in hand with being organized
Yep.
because if you're not prepared for a fire, you have a huge mess, you don't know where your fire extinguisher is because, oh, it was on the table, oh, it was in the cabinet, oh, it's somewhere else. You should know where important things are, especially. You want to make a place for your keys, you want to make a place for your wallet, you probably already have a place for your phone. Let's be honest. Like that's
Everyone has a
kind of a
place for
given.
their
Most
phone.
people at this point have a place for their phone, even if it's far away. No judgment. You don't have to be on it, but actually take a break when you get the chance. But
Yeah. Screen time. That's a whole nother video.
screen time. We'll cut back to that. Another thing that George had actually wanted to talk about, even though he couldn't make it here, he wanted to make sure that we touched base on organized chaos. So, organized chaos was something I was a huge victim of for a long time because it was just like, okay, this is my mess, but it's my mess, so I know where everything is as long as no one else touches it, and it might be in maybe 3 places. But it's somewhere, it's somewhere. It's not lost. I just forgot where it is.
Heaven forbid someone actually moved that thing.
Right, right. That's a whole nother story. And if you live with a lot of people, if you're in a house of like 5, 6, 7 people, there's a good chance your stuff's gonna get moved around. So, and if it's organized, people aren't gonna mess with your stuff. That's, I mean, most of the time. That's not a promise or anything. But if there's a big mess, a lot of people, it gives them anxiety or it stresses them out, and so
They're gonna
even
want to move it.
even if it's not your mess, someone else might look at it and be like, oh, that needs taken care of. We don't want that mess.
Yeah.
We really need to deal with that, and we don't that's not something you want to get to, because then there's tension. It causes tension between you and the people that you're around. And I've actually seen it a lot in relationships where people get so frustrated with each other because one person is like super duper organized and clean, and then the other person is just like, yeah, whatever, and they just kind of like don't care, and they're just letting the other person pick up after them. And it's like, do you not realize how stressful that is for the other person to be cleaning up all the time, even if they're like, no, it's okay, I like it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like no
okay.
one wants to have to clean all the time. It's nice to have downtime for everybody, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, yeah. I mean, especially for me, sometimes I feel like that's all I do. I get up and I like just have to do chores, and like
Yeah, it's like
I sometimes my parents built it into my brain to do my chores, and so I have to sometimes force myself to not clean, to not do laundry, to not go do something to my car. I have to make myself kind of sit back and watch a movie during the day, and relax.
it's almost like you have like this ADHD, but like
Yeah.
with cleaning, they like channeled it into cleaning and doing little projects.
One of my best friends, Jacob, always says to me, he goes, "You don't know how to relax. You don't know how to just let go and be calm." So I'm just an organized person. I have to always be doing something.
On that note, it's okay to not be too organized, like make your space comfortable for you, But also think about things like we said, think about how clean you're being, think about how stressed you are and how much your environment might have to do with that. You don't want to go around and just keep living in a stressful environment when you can simply clean up a few things and go on living that much less stressed.
Yeah, because sometimes you'll find yourself putting something off, and then once it's done, you're like, wow, that was nothing. I should have done that a while
Oh, that's the
ago.
biggest thing when you procrastinate and you put those things off. It really just builds up the stress. That's when you're doing your organized lists and your schedules, just get them out of the way. As much as you don't want to, just force yourself to do the things that you need to do. And
Yep.
I know that's incredibly hard. It's incredibly hard for everyone because, like, we all have things that just stress us out, and then you don't want to do it because you're stressed, but then you put it off. You just got to get them done. And that goes hand in hand with being organized. If there's less clutter in your space, it means there's less stress in your mind.
And something to go on. It's helpful for not just you, but if you have kids, they'll watch what you do. They take on your habits. I mean, I that's what happened to me. My parents, they were always very clean. They would dust. They weren't super OCD, but they made sure the house was swept. There wasn't piles of stuff everywhere. And kids watch that. It really does make a difference in the long run as to how you treat your home.
Do you feel like that was a big impact of how organized you are today? Or do you feel like it was more like, were your chores more of like a, oh, I see you cleaning, I need to clean? Or was it like a, do your chores, you get an allowance, or do your chores, or you're grounded? What kind of
Um,
situation was your chores life?
I guess it was more of the hey, I provide this wonderful home for you. Good food, a nice house, a good bed. Um, I had a good yard I could grow up in, and my parents were like, hey, you live here for free. We would appreciate it if you could help out, and that's essentially how they went about it. I mean,
And you just were
I
like,
guess
yeah, I
if
appreciate you, you appreciate me,
yeah,
thank you for being
if
organized, I'll be
if
organized too.
I mean, there are times, yeah, if I slacked off and didn't do the dishes, my dad would be like, "Hey, do the dishes," or I'm sending you to your room.
And that's the other thing. If,
But
if people are hounding you about things like that, within reason, it's probably because it's a little messy or it's like they're trying to help you. And it often comes off as like aggressive or like people are angry. But most of the time, it's because people have asked or they've asked more than once. So if someone asks you to help them be more organized. Don't get frustrated. Don't put it off, like help with the dishes, help with the chores.
yeah, say,
Like,
what can I do to help you? What can I do to make it better? Because you know what? In the end, everyone's here to help each other.
and you'll feel better about it. You'll feel better because you're more organized, you're helping others be more organized, you have the tools that you need, like we said, folders, binders, bins, dressers, shelves, technology, whatever it is that helps you to be organized. That's the things that you need to get. For me lately, it's been shelves. This shelf here will actually eventually have items, different projects from our various shows and such things. I don't even know how else to describe the things we do here, but we will definitely have lots of items for you guys to see as the videos progress.
um, I do want to
Any
just
last
say,
thoughts? Yeah.
thank you for having me on this for today.
On
I know,
Studio
I know there was Studio 20.
20.
I know there were a couple other options, but I'm happy I actually got to do it.
We
I'm
definitely appreciate you standing in. I know you're
yes,
usually one of our
yeah.
producers, one of
I'm
our
normally
idea
behind the
guys.
scenes kind of guy, but
He's our hands-on
George,
man who gets
I'm
everything done.
more than happy to fill in for George. He's such a great person.
Yes, yes.
And
I can't wait to have him back
yes,
for our next episode as
absolutely.
well.
Me too.
You certainly were great company, and we appreciate it. As for you guys, like we said, make sure you work on your organization skills because it will help. Stay tuned for next time on Studio 20 from Enigma Syndrome. Be on the lookout for our content on Instagram, YouTube, and possibly sometimes Facebook because why not? That's always a benefit, right? Social media, staying organized, using the internet. Have a good night, guys.